Welcome to the Pool Nation podcast, where it's all pool talk. And we ain't talking about netting and jetting or splashing and dashing. We're talking about becoming a nation of pool pros. We talk about the latest products, trends, and training in the pool industry. Now let's welcome your host, with over a decade of industry insider experience and still the reigning champion of Marco Polo, Edgar De Jesus, and his co-host, John J.J. Flawless, the fastest netter in the West, and Zach the Pool Boy Nicholas.
Good morning, everyone. I am Edgar De Jesus, and yes, I am the reigning champion of Marco Polo. I was waiting for Brad to just take it and run.
Dude, I could have done it. I didn't have any heads up.
Along with John J.J. Flawless, the fastest netter in the West, and the famous Zach, the Pool Boy Nicholas. And yes, today we are in studio with the Cannonball King himself, Mr. Spider.
What's up, y'all?
There we go. Hey, today we're doing a deep dive into heat pumps with Brad Duncan and Akshaya Shakar. Big shout out to you guys out there with Raypak. I want to welcome everyone to our live podcast, a podcast where it's all pool talk, and we ain't talking about netting and jetting and splashing and dashing. We're talking about becoming a nation of pool pros. And yes, we will talk about the latest products, trends, and training in the pool industry. But before we get started today, I want to thank our visionary partners for this podcast, the Ultimate Pool Tools, the SPPA, Blu-ray Excel, Aquastar Pool Products, Natural Chemistry, our friends at Raypak, Heritage Pool Supply, and Hayward Pool Products. We want to thank them for their continued support. Mr. Zacharias, are you out there?
I'm here. I made it. It got questionable there for a minute, but I am here.
You kind of had us worried there for a little bit.
Well, I forgot about the whole computer issue that I have going on. So as soon as I went on, I couldn't get in. So I have stolen McKenna's computer for the time being.
I'm not surprised. John, can you do me a favor? I think what we need to do is we need to stop the process of him having a buying decision. And what we need to do, John, is we need to accelerate that and just bring this to an end. Because if it's anything like that truck, 3 years from now, he'll get a laptop. That is how old, John?
Yeah, that's what we were talking about while you were conveniently couldn't hear us. I figured, and what I said was you didn't make it to the office in time because you bought a brand new truck, and that new truck it's having its engine replaced, so you had to walk to work today. So
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. No.
So, Mr. Flawless, good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing really well. It's hot, as we were having a little bit of a heat wave. It was like 120 degrees yesterday, and today is going to be the same. So a little hot, but we can see the beautiful times ahead of us because it's going to start cooling down in about 2 weeks. And then we're going to slowly and gradually get down to the beautiful weather that we usually have here. And also, too, more importantly, chemical costs are going to go down because I'm going to be saving a boatload of money on chlorine because I'm not going to have to worry about the heat as much. So that's always a plus for us going into the winter. But in all reality, I'm super pumped for today's podcast. I think, one, we love having Raypak here. They've been an amazing partner. But today's topic, and we don't really talk too much about products, but we know that this is a very important topic. And the heat pump that Raypak provides, I think each and every one of you guys that are listening really need to take heed to what we're trying to say here, the underlying message. Heat pumps are going to be the future. Especially if you're on the West Coast, California, you can see slowly but surely times are changing and the ways of heaters and gas-fired heaters are going away. And we read the tea leaves, and we want you guys to be prepared so that your business is set up, you, your technicians, the people that work for you, and your clients are informed so that when this change happens, and it's inevitable, it will happen, it's starting to happen, that you guys are going to be prepared for it. So I'm looking forward to talking to the super geek himself, Mr. Brad Duncan, who does an amazing job.
Wow, shots fired. What was that?
You know, he is a super geek.
That was a compliment.
That's a
That was a
compliment,
compliment?
bro. I'm a geek.
Look at him, John.
I prefer the term propeller head if you're gonna do that. You know.
You should have seen his look, John. He was like, what? Did you just call me a geek?
To help us guide us through this journey. And you guys will see that as far as like our education, I think we've done some of the best heater classes in the industry, and we've had all the help from Raypak. They've been extremely supportive in helping us put those on. You're going to see us slowly transition and add heat pumps to our line of education. And for those of you that are going to be attending the pool conference, in November at the expo, we are going to put a heavy focus on the heat pump aspect of it. And we are going to start to teach and get the information out there. There's a reason to everything. And hopefully you guys take a lot from this podcast. And I'm sure there's going to be 1,000 more questions that you guys are going to have. Feel free to reach out to us, reach out to the team over at Raypak, to us on our website via Instagram or whatever, and we'll start getting this information out to you. But look, I'm excited for it, and I hope you guys are going to be equally as excited for it. And we're going to take away some of the scary part of what a heat pump is, and hopefully you're going to see that you can use it to your benefit, and it's a lot easier than you've been told in the past. So I'm excited.
Awesome. Akshaya, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. We had a fun day yesterday.
We did. And then Brad, we spoiled her a little bit with dinner, right? It was all about her.
That was absolutely worth it because she's usually just the one, oh, wherever you guys want to eat. Well, I'm sure they've got something for me. And for her to go in and there were so many options, and she was just so thrilled, like a kid in a candy store. It was fun to watch. I enjoyed watching it.
It was. And thank you for coming out. We were always excited to have you come out, and you're one of our favorite person to work with because you know what you want. You have that vision, and you walk in and you definitely make my life a lot easier. So we appreciate that. Mr. Duncan, how are you, buddy? What's going on?
Hey, man, I'm good. I'm here. We're back in the room. This is my third time sitting at this table.
That is correct.
And I've gotten used to it now. Actually, enough to call Spider by name. That's fun. We're doing great. Everything's looking good here.
That's awesome. Well, it was exciting to have you guys out yesterday. For everybody listening, we shot some videos that we'll put on the Poolman University with regards to the heat pumps. It was a great course. What did we clock it at, about 2 hours?
Which is a lot of starting and stopping, but I think it went about 2.5. Once it gets edited down, we'll see what it actually comes out to.
Yeah, so we'll definitely get that out there. We're going to break that out into chapters, add it over to Mr. Brad Duncan's page so everybody can check it out. So check it out probably the next 3-4 weeks here. We'll have that up and we'll have that running out there for everybody to be able to do a deep dive into that. So
Nice. Before we get nominations,
yes,
we got to remind everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, nominations next. What is it?
Next Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday. Yeah, next Wednesday, September 11th. It's going to be live on our Instagram Live, like we usually do. This year is going to be a little bit different. We got a couple different surprises, but I just can't believe we're already here. Wow, it came by quick.
It's crazy. You know, everybody stay tuned. And this year we have the help of Spider and the team, which are going to come out and help us with some stuff that we're going to be doing. We're going to be taking it up another notch, and we're going to stream live everywhere. We're going to go Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, MySpace, everywhere.
HBO,
HBO, yeah,
right.
Wow,
yeah.
That's,
So,
that's impressive.
so it's going to be all over the news and all that. And by the way, the one that's going to hijack all that is Spider. He's like, I got it. I'm just going to jump into the feed and it'll be everywhere. So,
sadly, I don't think I'll be there.
is that going to be Michael?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Y'all, people that want to see me, though, say what's up to my boy Michael. He's an enjoyable person.
Yeah, he's a cool cat. So we're excited about that. We got tons and tons of nominees this year. So we're excited about that. So tune in next Wednesday on our Instagram Live time, which is 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 Central, 9 Eastern. Tune in, everybody, so that you can see those nominations. Next thing that we have is Pool Nation Spotlight and Insights. The next one's going to be out next Wednesday, so stay tuned. There's a lot of things on there and even some discounts for the Men Warehouse, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. And
Well, don't tell everybody.
It sounds kind of weird, right?
Don't tell everybody about it until I can get in.
until you get your jacket first.
And
so.
then everybody else.
And
I don't want
everybody.
everybody taking my stuff.
So we were talking about it, John, Zach, and Brad. He's ready to go buy 8 jackets. And
I
just,
saw your options and
Right.
we were sold from there.
even Zach was going, hey, Edgar, while you're there, can you get me 2 jackets? I have 2 jackets at home for
I gotta
Zach.
get those.
Yeah, you came over and you left them behind. What was that about? Anyways,
next week.
next week. We also have the Pool Nation Conference coming up the 9th, 10th, and 11th. We're going to be doing 4 different tracks. We'll do technical, hands-on, business, and retail. We've already got quite a couple people registered. Just to give everybody a heads up, for the technical classes, we can only hold about 90 people. Hands-on, we could do 100. Business, we could do about another 90. And then the retail, about 90 to 100. So even though we can hold up to 100 people, every track is going to be limited to about 90 to 100 people. So you're going to want to get out there. Go to poolnation.com. You can see the Pool Nation Conference on there, or you could go directly to this PSP Expo site. You can see each track. Brad's going to be teaching on that hands-on. They have 2 classes that they're going to be doing. They're going to be doing a 101 heater class, and then we've turned it up a notch. We're going to do a 201 heater class there as well, and all those classes are hands-on. So definitely get out there, register right away because space is starting to fill up. And then the next thing that we have is on the 11th, we have the Heritage Pool Pro Appreciation Event, and that event is going to be a free event. It's going to be from 3:30 to about 7:30. And where this is going to be a little bit different is we are going to have some of our visionary partners and some other companies there. But instead of this being a tabletop, it's a hands-on event. And so Raypak's going to have some heaters there that people are going to be able to touch, play, tear apart out there if they need to. I know that we will have the attendant, we'll have Aquastar, we'll have Lamont is going to be there, BioLab is going to be there, Haas is going to be there. There's just a whole bunch. It's really immersive. And then the other thing that we're doing is we're doing for the first time what we call the Apple Bar concept for business. And that is that there's going to be 18 different stations. And what pool pros are able to do is, let's say that somebody comes in and they want to talk about scaling. They want to scale their business. They're going to be able to connect with 3 or 4 big, large companies that service over 1,000 pools and talk about that scaling process. They want to talk about branding. They want to talk about hiring. They want to talk about firing. They want to talk about marketing, whatever it is. In that Apple Bar concept, we're going to have people for them to be able to come in, connect with those people and get those questions answered. So we're definitely excited about that. And then we roll right into the Pool Nation Awards, which is the night of the 13th. Tickets are already going like crazy. I was telling you guys, I had somebody that called me day before yesterday and said, can you get me 14 tickets? Because last time I wasn't able to take my entire team, and this year I'm taking my entire team. And then I got a call yesterday from somebody else going, oh, yeah, we need 8 tickets. Can you manage that? Because I don't want to go through the sellout process that happened last year. So we're excited to do that. Get out there. You could get those tickets through the PSP Expo or the poolnationawards.com website. And there was one more thing, but I just can't remember. Do you remember what it was, Brad?
I'm sorry, what?
You're supposed to remember, Brad.
I don't know. I don't have access to your list, man.
So, you're supposed to kind of have that, in your head there. So,
all right. Well,
anyways, the last thing that I'll talk about, which we joked about it, is this year we partnered with the Men's Warehouse. So for any of the guys out there that want to rent a tuxedo, what you're able to do is you're able to go. And if you look at our insights and spotlight, which is on our website, there is a page right there with the Men's Warehouse. There's a code. So if you rent a tuxedo, it's $60 off. And what you can do is, let's say that you are in California and you don't want to travel with the tuxedo. You go to your local Men's Warehouse, you get measured, they ship it to the closest store right there to Dallas to downtown. You go pick it up, you wear it, you bring it back, you're done. And then that way you're not having to travel with a tuxedo. And then I think there's also a $50 off if you do a purchase. So
that's a good deal. Are we going there after with Brad?
Yeah. On the way to the airport, we swing by the Men's Warehouse.
Hey, look, Edgar, we need to take a second and appreciate how far we've come to where we've collaborated with Men's Warehouse,
right?
And we're getting coupon codes. What is it? Next issue, we've teamed up with Shell, and we're going to be offering 10% off a gallon of gas. Right? It's our next one. Right?
We need to go there, right?
Why not?
We need to be strategic here. Yeah.
Look, imagine if we can offer 10 cents off a gallon for our pool pros out there, right? To participate in Shell or Exxon or whatever it may be.
American Airlines discount flight.
There you go.
I could use it.
Akshaya, can you manage that phone call for us?
I got it.
You got it? We're good.
It's on lock.
We're good.
Happy Meal discount.
Yeah. There you go. Anyway, so we're really excited about all that stuff that we have coming on. But anybody that needs any information, just go to poolnation.com. All the information is there. And we're excited to be able to see everybody and hang out with everybody. Mr. Brad Duncan, you ready?
Yeah, man. Let's get it on. Let's pull the string.
All right.
Make it happen.
So we talked about doing a deep dive into heat pumps. And obviously we want to make this educational. John had a great point that really, it was the same thing with the heat pumps, right? That nobody wanted to install them, and now they're required. And obviously we're talking about heat pumps, and we agree that this is going to be something that's down the road is really going to be something that, especially like in California, if they move, it's going to be a requirement. So let's start with the basics. And how does a heat pump work?
Heat pump gives us the opportunity to utilize free heat. We're making heat without a fire. How does that work? How do we make that happen? What it essentially does, there's this machine that will pull the surrounding air into it, suck all the heat out of that air, and put it in the swimming pool water. Now, we tend to think of, if you're going to do that, it has to be a really hot day, better be 95 degrees and up. No, there's still heat in the air that's usable down into the mid-40s. We can still continue to get heat out of that air and put it in your swimming pool water. And all we're doing is dragging heat out of the air using refrigerant to suck that heat up, compressing the refrigerant to make it even hotter, and then sending it to a heat exchanger. And then from the heat exchanger, the refrigerant goes back through the other direction, and it all starts all over again. Round and round she goes, pulling the free heat provided to us by the sun and putting it into your swimming pool water. That's how they work. That's the upper level version without going into minute details. But if you just don't have any knowledge of it, that's where you start. We're pulling the heat out of the air. We're putting it in your swimming pool.
Brad, talking about that, and you talked about range of temperatures there. When speaking about the different climates that we have, the different markets, how does a heat pump perform in those different climates? What are some of the considerations that pros should be aware of?
That is absolutely the biggest question. It comes down to performance. The performance is going to vary based on, there's three things, but primarily the temperature outside. We're pulling air in from the atmosphere, so if the air is not as warm, then the heater is not as efficient. You don't get the heat as quickly that way, but it will continue to pull the heat out. So when we give the example of what we call 80-80-80. The heat pumps are measured. We need to measure the efficiency using the air temperature and the humidity in the air and the set temperature that you're trying to get the water up to. So the industry advertises at 80-degree air temperature, 80% humidity, and 80-degree water temperature. Okay, so in Florida, that's Tuesday. That's no big deal. That happens all the time. Not a problem. Might not be quite so realistic in Little Rock, Springfield, Lincoln, Nebraska. Gets a little cooler up there. So what that means is that's led people to believe that in certain parts of the country it doesn't work. And I actually got a call 3 weeks ago from an old friend of mine in the swimming pool industry. He's a contractor. He was like, yeah, the customer is interested in a heat pump, but I was told they don't work here. He's in the San Fernando Valley in Los Angeles. There's plenty of heat there. Yeah, man, they work great here. In fact, they sell them in the Pacific Northwest. They sell them in Toronto. If they'll work up there, they'll work in Little Rock. They'll work in Lincoln, Nebraska. You can't expect as much out of them as you might from, say, the Dallas area where it's hotter. Okay? Doesn't mean they don't work. It means that they don't work as quickly. All right? So upper ranges, obviously, the hotter it is, the easier it is to get the heat out of the air. You got an ample supply. As it gets colder, it just means it has to work a little harder, or really not harder, longer is how it would work. So the efficiency goes down at that rate. These units run down into the mid-40s, temperature-wise.
Yeah, I can be a testament to that. We've been putting them in out here in California now for many years. In my area, we're very hot. So as far as that 80, we're like at 100. But as far as humidity, we're on the lower end on the humidity. And even though we might not have the perfect or ideal climate for it, they work very well. And surprisingly, as long as you have a clear understanding of what they're capable of doing. I think the biggest misconception with a heat pump is thinking it will heat up as quickly as a gas heater, or that they can't, when they put them in, oh, it's a heat pump, it's supposed to heat just like that. Or on the other side of the spectrum, people think that just because it's a heat pump and it takes a little bit longer, that they're not capable of doing the same thing a heater can do, which is not true. It just takes a little bit longer, like you were talking about, Brad. And one of the main questions that we get and people say is, oh, we can't have a heat pump because I have a spa. In reality, can you debunk that or let the viewers know, can a heat pump heat up a spa?
Yeah. I'm guilty of saying, oh, spas maybe. The thing is, it's just going to take a little longer. If you've got a standard pool spa combo with your average size spa on it, and you've got a 400,000 BTU gas burner, you're probably accustomed to turning that heater on and letting it run, and in 30, 40 minutes, you're soaking in the spa. Probably won't be able to do that with a heat pump in most places. Doesn't mean we can't get up to 104 in the spa. It just means it's going to take a little longer. The trick is mitigating the expectations of the customers so that they don't think, look, this is not a plug-in replacement for your gas heater. Therein lies the problem, is we're going to go to electrical. We're going to get rid of all the fossil fuels. Okay, that's fine. But you have to know what your expectations are. This is not a direct one-for-one replacement. It's going to take a little longer to do the job. The good news is the operating cost is going to drop like a stone. They're way less to operate. We're not burning gas. And the efficiencies of these products, even at temperatures that you might not think of as being particularly warm temperatures, the efficiencies are still far greater than the gas model. Is it time to talk about the efficiencies? Do you want to talk about efficiencies?
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Was going to be, obviously you just mentioned the cost, but I'm used to a gas heater, right? So how do they compare on the energy cost?
So here's how this works. When we talk about gas heaters, we usually talk about efficiency by a percentage. And what it comes down to is how much of the fire, the heat from the fire that you're burning, are you actually getting into the water itself? The most common right now, most of the newer heaters are at 84%. Okay, so that's residential, not cupro-nickel, just copper, 84% efficient. That's pretty good. That means for every dollar worth of energy that you put into that machine, you're going to get 84 cents worth of heat in the pool, in the water. Okay, that's pretty good. The rest of it, the other 16%, just kind of goes out the flue. That's loss. Okay, let's talk about the heat pump. We measure a heat pump differently. We don't give a percentage of efficiency. They take those three things that I talked about, the temperature of the air, the temperature of the water, the humidity, and they do a mathematical equation. It's called coefficient of performance, COP they call that. So typically you'll have a coefficient of performance somewhere between 4.0 and 6.0, something like that. So just as an example, let's say you've got a 5.9 COP on your heat pump, okay? So what I put $1 worth of energy into the gas, I got 84 cents in the water. At a 5.9 COP, I put that same dollar into the heat pump, and I get $5.90 worth of heat in the water. It's 7 times the efficiency at that point, okay? I'm not saying they don't pull a lot of electricity, they do, but you get more of that in the water, okay? So the efficiencies are 5 to 7 times, depending on a number of factors, but considerably more efficient than gas. This is where it takes longer to get there, but you do eventually get there, and you can maintain a temperature at a far lower cost than continuously burning gas.
And look, to add to that, Brad, for us, and we've been on the bandwagon for heat pumps now for quite a while. We take care of a lot of Airbnbs out in my area, and one of the perks is heated pool, right? Everybody who rents a Airbnb, they want a heated pool. And of course, the people that own the Airbnbs and rent them out, they charge a premium for it. And it's expensive, especially the last few years. Ever since COVID, the cost of gas has gone up a lot. And in order to operate those gas heaters, it starts to get a little bit ridiculous when it comes down to what they have to charge or what it costs the client in order to have them. We've been offering, and to tag on to what you were saying earlier, as far as heat pumps don't necessarily replace them. You can't really look at them as like an exact replacement for them. We use them in conjunction with gas heaters. And
Sure,
as far as,
absolutely.
and that is like the game changer that we have, because you're able to now, there's so many benefits, and I'll try to hit on them real quick without taken over the podcast on this, but having a heat pump in conjunction with the gas heater, you're able to, especially during the colder climates, you're able to use the gas heater to be able to get the temperature up to where you need to be at a quicker pace. You're able to not have to wait 2 hours or 3 hours, maybe sometimes, to heat up a spa. Depending on the size of the spa and how cold it is outside, you're able to utilize the gas heater for that. But more importantly, when you're heating up a body of water and it's 65 degrees outside or 70 degrees outside, and you want it at 88 degrees, you're able to heat that pool up with the gas heater up into the 80s, and then you're able to maintain it at a much cheaper cost with that heat pump. And it is capable of doing it, and it does it very well. And the savings are just astonishing that the clients get. And when they come back and say, John, I can't believe how much money overall between gas and electricity and the difference between the two, how much we're able to save by having that. And then on top of it, not only that, but as an Airbnb, the worst thing that can happen is the heater goes down when you have guests there and they're renting. And having 2 heaters on the pad to be able to use one when one goes down while you're repairing it. I can't tell you how many times we've saved the day by being able to switch over and use the heat pump, because one, the heater's been working, you're able to maintain it. The water's a lot warmer now. If it's in the 80s, you're able to go from 88 to 102, 103 a lot quicker than if it was at like 50 degrees, bringing it up to there. It's just like a world of a difference. And then the third point, and I know we're going to talk about it a little bit later, but we're hot where we're at. And if you get the right heat pump and you're educated, not only can you use that heat pump to heat, but you can run it in reverse and use it to cool. Our pools are 100 degrees out here. in the summertime, and I'm not kidding, depending on where it's facing, the type of how shallow it is, what type of finish it has, I have pools that are 100 degrees during the summertime, where our average temp is like around 92 to 95 degrees for our pool water. That's ridiculous. And nobody wants to swim in that, but it's not comfortable and refreshing. But now you give them an option to where they can dial back the temperature and cool it down into the 80s. It becomes a cash machine for your client, and it allows them to be able to enjoy the pool during the summertime. Most of the country loves summertime, swimming time for everybody here. When it gets really hot, nobody wants to get into the pool because who wants to swim in 100-degree water? So we've utilized that, and it's been very impressive for us out here.
I should point out, for those of you that are not fully up to speed on what's available out there, that would be a heat-cool model. They don't all do that. Some of them do. Yeah, that's an upgrade. Typically, that's the upper-end model that'll have a heat-cool. But yeah, in most cases, you can set the heating band so that we don't allow the water to get below a certain level. But if it gets up above that, it'll kick on in cool mode and keep it down underneath that. So you can set the band at, let's say, I don't want it any lower than 79, but I don't want any higher than 86. You can set it up like that. So the water, obviously, as long as it's in that band, nothing will turn on at all. There will be no call for heat or call for cool, as the case may be. So once it gets above that, then it turns back on at cooling mode to cool the water back down.
So I want to jump back. You were talking about the COP and how much more efficient it is for how much money you spend and how much heat you get in. One of the things with heat pumps is it's a heavy initial investment for customers. And I think with a lot of pros out there, it gets tricky when you're trying to sell a higher price tag item. But I think that something important is looking at the initial investment compared to the long-term savings. Can you talk a bit about how the initial investment in a heat pump compares to the long-term savings?
Yeah. With any product that you buy, you're spending less money for use. The actual operating cost is going to be less than what it's replacing. Then it just becomes, there's a break-even point somewhere. Not entirely sure where that might be, but I know that it has to exist because we're spending less money, which means you're going to get a return on your investment. There's going to be a point at which, you've heard the term, it pays for itself. Okay, so when you hear that, what you know is that it's going to take an amount of time. The question is, how long does it take to pay for itself? So we know that the operating cost is substantially lower. The initial outlay, this assumes that, let's say you've been using a gas heater for years. Your heater's done. It's time to replace the heater. This is where you make the decision. This is where you have to be able to do the math and go, okay, here's the heat pump, here's the gas heater, and the heat pump is more expensive, but it's more efficient. So you know that at some point it will give you a return on your investment that will allow it to pay for itself over time. And this is going to depend on a number of factors, among them how often you use your heating product. But eventually, down the road, and the real question comes, okay, is it going to pay for itself before it wears out and I have to start all over again? And that's the other thing about heat pumps is they're very durable. And when's the last time you had to fix your air conditioner? They just don't break down that much. You're more likely to keep it for a longer period of time, which makes it more likely to save you money in the long run. Did I answer your question? Because sometimes I just start talking and I don't know if I actually got there.
I think it's perfect. And like we were talking about, this is going to become more of an item that we have to be familiar with as pool pros out there. And I talk to a lot of people and they get hung up on presenting that cost to the customer. And I think that's a big tactic or a big tool that they have is that pay for itself over the long run. When you're talking about how efficient it is for the heating cost, I think that's something that people need to familiarize themselves with when trying to sell a heat pump.
I always had a good relationship with my customers. For those of you who don't know, I was a pool guy for 25 years. And I always wanted to, particularly your good customers, the people that you've had for years, they pay on time, they're always nice, they're always generous around the holidays. These people are, you kind of get to feel for them and you don't want to, you're like, I don't want you to have to spend a lot of money. Let me get you something it's really going to work for you and not cost so much. You might not be doing them a favor. If you're just, let me just sell you the cheapest thing. Okay. Today, that was great, but is it going to last as long? Is it going to do the job as well? Are they going to be happy with it? Is it going to cost some money in the long run? While it may be difficult to go to a customer and say, look, yes, you can buy, that's cheap, and it'll work for a while, but I don't recommend it. You just have to be sincere and get them to understand you're not charging them a lot of money for this big new product. Ooh, heat pump. You're trying to do them a solid. You are getting them into something that is going to make them happier in the long run. You just need to be able to explain that to them. And a lot of what we talk about when we're talking about heat pumps is getting to know what the customer's needs are and explaining to them what they can expect. We compare the heat pump and gas heater like a Maserati and a 68 Beetle, okay? We can both finish the quarter mile. Maserati's going to get there a lot faster, but the Beetle's going to get there. It will get there, and it's going to cost me a lot less, okay? So that's what we're doing. We're just trying to make sure everybody understands there's a difference here. As long as your expectations are in line with what these things will do, you likely be okay with it.
Hey guys, let's do this. I have some questions, and I got some questions that came in here that I'm going to share with you so that we can answer some of those questions. But before we do that, let's take a quick word from our sponsors, and when we come back, we will continue.
The Hyper Pole from Ultimate Pool Tools is a pool care pole designed by pool professionals for pool professionals, featuring precision-crafted carbon fiber and stainless steel construction. Go to ultimatepooltools.com or Instagram at Ultimate Pool Tools. Pool pros have specific needs when it comes to general liability insurance. The SPPA program has you covered. With 3 tailored and customizable general liability options, SPPA makes it easy for pool pros to feel secure. Find out more and get covered at thesppa.com. Now available, Pool Invoice. Pool Invoice is a pool billing software created specifically for the pool service and repair industry. It's developed for our industry and only our industry. Pool Invoice is built with recurring billing in mind. You can print, email, text invoices, or even send via WhatsApp. You can add recurring or yearly charges, accept credits, and set up autopay. You can even see when customers have seen the invoice. It even has a customer portal where they can log in and see, print, and pay invoices. It has all your customers' information on one page, so you don't need to search through hundreds of invoices looking for the one you need. Just go to the customer profile and it's all at your fingertips. Created specifically for the pool industry, Pool Invoice. Now available at poolinvoice.com. Blu-ray XL is the power of minerals working for you. Reduce your overall chemical costs and labor up to 50% guaranteed. Whether you have 20 accounts or 20,000, Blu-ray XL's direct pricing and free shipping to the pool trade have you covered. Improving pool professionals' profit and work-life balance is what they do. Blu-ray XL, the real mineral purifier. Visit them at BluRayXL.com.
Blu-ray all day.
Aquastar's new pipeline cartridge filters, available in 2 sizes, deliver top-notch hydraulic efficiency along with best-in-class filtration performance, approaching that of DE filters. Uniquely designed, open pleat spacing means 100% of the media square footage is usable. And these claims are backed by NSF test results. Designed with the pro's time and comfort in mind, the patented double locking system improves safety and ease of access, making filter cleaners faster than ever before. Available now. Ask your supplier for pipeline filters today.
Natural Chemistry, a leader in specialty water care solutions for over 30 years, is proud to provide products that make pool service easier than ever before. Its unique enzyme formulations in Pro Series Pro Blend improve efficiency of your pool program while reducing frequency of filter cleaning and scum lines. Natural Chemistry is also well known for its wide variety of phosphate removal solutions that include a non-clouding formula in Phos-Free and extremely high-range removal with Pro Series Phos Remove or Phos-Free Max. Save time, save money, save work with Pro Series products. Stop sacrificing durability or efficiency with the help of Raypak's new Avia HD models that utilize NITEC, their exclusive industry-first technology. NITEC heat exchanger technology is Raypak's latest solution to superior strength and maximum efficiency when it comes to residential pool heating. With 900% more nickel compared to copper nickel in critical surfaces, NITEC creates an ideal surface to protect against scale formation and erosion without compromising on Avia's 84% thermal efficiency. Learn more at raypak.com/NITEC. The next evolution in lighting is here. Universal Color Logic 2.0 from Hayward. The latest in pool and spa lighting was designed with you in mind, making installation a breeze. Upgrades include a detachable cord and first-of-a-kind adjustable lower catch to overcome variations in plaster thickness. As always, Universal Color Logic lights retrofit into virtually any in-ground pool or spa while delivering industry-leading, vibrant color. Visit Hayward.com to discover more.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Pool Nation Live podcast with Mr. Brad Duncan. By the way, everybody, on break, he was like, Edgar, can you please just announce my name a little bit with a deeper voice? The whole, welcome, everybody, Brad Duncan. And he's like, no, can you please do the Brad?
That is definitely what was happening during the break. 100%. That's definitely.
Is that deep?
Akshaya. Hey, what was that, bro? Did you see how quick he was? Just it took me a minute. But Akshaya, was that not the case? He was saying, I'm the talent. I deserve to be Brad Duncan.
I mean, he literally took 5 minutes of our break to relay that to us, yes.
Et tu, Brute? My homegirl over here, you're throwing me down the stairs. Wait, some backup over here.
That's what I'm talking about right there.
So, all right, that's fine.
Just so much more fun.
I know where your desk is, by the way. Just keep that in mind.
I take it back. Edgar,
See, this is where
it's
I
over.
get FOMO because I'm not there, so I don't get to see what's going on during the break there. And
I assure you, it's not that exciting.
it's not.
I promise you.
Getting back to the questions, I know you touched on it earlier about what affects the efficiency, but there are also some other things that affect heat pumps efficiency. Can you go through them all one more time for everybody and then maybe talk about some of the other things when it comes down to like installation and things to look out for, maybe clearances or whether they can be indoor or outdoor and those types of things, and whether there's like a low hanging roof or something where it can't draw in the air or how close to a heater, stuff like that really come into play that affect the efficiency of the heat pump.
We're taking the heat out of the air. We're literally pulling the air in, wringing the heat out of it, and kicking the air back out with the fan. So the air coming out is 8 to 10 degrees cooler than the air that went in. So if you put your hand over the top of one of these things, that fan's blowing the air out. It's cool air coming out of it. So let's think about that. If we put that indoors, let's say, what is it, about a 20 by 20 room. I put a heat pump in the middle of it, and I run pool water coming in and out. Pipes pulling the water in and pipe taking the water out. We're going to turn the heat pump on. It's going to pull the heat out of this room. It's going to put the heat in the water and send the heat out of the room. The air that comes back out into the room is colder than the air that went in. We would effectively, over time, and in a fairly short period of time, surprisingly short, turn this room into a refrigerator to the point that it gets so cold now we don't have heat available to wring out anymore. We're running the same air over and over and pulling the heat out of it every time. Every pass through pulls more heat out of it until the three of us are sitting in here wearing parkas because it's cold. You can't put them indoors. So if you're looking to replace indoor heaters, you're going to have to make some, hopefully, maybe there's a wall. You could keep the rest of your equipment indoors and, run your electrical and your plumbing out through the wall. If that can be done, if you have room to do that. You could feasibly put them up on the roof, something like that. They're great on the roof because it's nice and hot up there. But they cannot be run indoors. They're always outside. Bear that in mind when you're thinking about a particular customer who might like to have one of these. Oh, yeah, but he's got that little shed where all his pool equipment is. Won't go in there. The physical space of the devices, they are typically, and they come in various sizes, obviously, but the largest sizes are probably 30% larger than a standard gas pool heater. So you have to bear that in mind. They need clearances around them, all right? Typically, this may vary by manufacturer, but what you'll find in general, you need 12 inches all the way around the evaporator coil just to have enough room for the air to flow. Okay, that's actually pretty reasonable. You're talking about this much room to get the air in to the heat pump. So that's not bad. But I've seen a lot of equipment pads, they put everything in there with a shoehorn. One of my pet peeves, as a matter of fact, was builders. I'll try to keep calm because there's probably some builders out there, but they just love to stuff everything into a tight little spot, and it makes everything harder. It's difficult to work on. I've seen, I got to do a pump seal on this pump, but I have to uninstall it because the motor, the back of the motor is slammed up against the back of the wall. I can't pull the motor back without taking the whole pump out. That's not the best. So I'm turning screws, and hopefully when the guy installed it like that, hopefully he put unions on it to make it a little bit easier, but it's still a little bit of a hassle. All right, you need a little bit more room with this heat pump. And now that we're just talking about around the outside, again, we are pulling air in and we are ejecting it up. Now, again, there are side discharge models, but let's just stick with the standard vertical discharge. We need 5 feet minimum above that thing to be able to eject this colder air out. If you put something above it, frankly, even at 5 feet, you're skirting the edge there. But let's say you put something 3 feet above it. You're going to put it underneath a deck or something, and there's only 3 feet of clearance. Is it going to work? Yeah, but you've automatically reduced the efficiency of the product.
Because you're going to be drawing in some of that cold air.
Because you're drawing in that cold air. Okay, that air pop comes up. This big fan is blowing air out as hard as it can. It hits whatever is above it and starts to roll back down and underneath, and the heat pump starts to breathe in its own effluent air, which is colder, which reduces the efficiency of your product. So you need 5 feet above that. And on the side discharge models, you want that same 5 feet in front of it. Although, again, if you can get it wide open with no restriction, that would be best, because you still have some of that cooler air will still bounce back and start to get pulled into the heat pump. So there's your space restrictions there. I think there was one more thing you'd asked me about. There was 3 things in there. Did I get them all?
No, I think you got them all, especially like the clearance.
Hey, good for me. I so rarely, guys, look, I answer a lot of questions. I do classes and guys come up and they ask questions, and I'll go down some bunny hole and then forget what was the question again? I don't recall. I do that all the time. I'm just trying to cover my tracks here.
I think there might be one more thing, and correct me if I'm wrong. Heat pumps, they have coils, right? Should they be cleaned off every once in a while if they get too dirty or anything? Will that affect the efficiency? It's like an air conditioning unit, correct?
It's exactly like an air conditioning unit. The technology is identical. Many of them, the previous generation of the Raypak heat pump, the 84 model, 8450, had used all the same, made in the same factory as Rheem air conditioning units and used the same cabinet. So they're about the same size. Evaporator coils, very similar. An air conditioner works on the same type of system. So yeah, it's similar type of maintenance where you got to rinse those off every once in a while, because again, you're pulling air in. There's constant flow of air. Anytime you've got something that pulls in air, you're pulling in whatever's in that air. Now, fortunately, the evaporator coils they're not particularly wide open. So it takes a while to gather up. What we're talking about is just dust and dirt. You got to rinse them off every once in a while.
So do you just rinse them with the hose?
Yeah.
Because I know the air conditioners, they use chemicals and stuff like that, but
you can if it gets to that. Hopefully we'll get it cleaned up often enough that you don't have to do that sort of thing. But if whatever you would use on an air conditioner coil, it would be the same thing exactly.
So would you take?
But I mean, now, bear in mind, guys, when you talk about chemicals, I would be very careful what you're spraying on the outside of that thing, because you don't want to eat. Look, they're made out of metal. The tubes are copper. You don't want to eat that stuff.
Yeah, and I know there's specialty chemicals for that.
Mm-hmm.
And so would you have to take off the cabinet, or is that something that you could kind of do from that?
The Raypak model actually has protective panels over it that still allow airflow, but protect the coils. And that's the other thing about it. Usually you can, because you're rinsing, you can get through whatever covers. Mm-hmm. There's some sort of cover because we want to protect the coils, because the fins are aluminum and they'll bend pretty easily. You kick a soccer ball up against it, and technically you've just reduced the efficiency of the product because you've made it harder to get the air through it. So we want to protect those coils. There's usually some sort of grate or screen or panel that allows air to run through it without being obstructive and still will protect it from flying objects. So it may or may not be necessary. That's going to be a case-by-case situation. And the ones where it's going to be necessary to remove the panels, they'll be removable. At least ours is.
John, I have a question for you, obviously, because my brain goes to the business side of it. With the ones that you have in place. And
yeah,
obviously
we do a yearly, just like we do with heaters,
Uh-huh.
same exact thing, where we take them apart, we open them up, we clean them out, we do what we need to do. We clear the drain plug. There's drain holes. Those things condensate like crazy. You want to make sure that's clear and free. Obviously, we know that condensation is not good to be pulled up and stored. You want to get that stuff drained out. So we go through all the same things, and we charge our annual heater or heat pump maintenance, where we'll open it up and we'll clean it up and get it going. And that's right before the season when we start to do it. And it's something that's needed, right? You want to maintain, and you don't make sure there's no bird nests or rat nests in there. You don't want mud in there if it got rainy or something happened. You just want to make sure it's clean and ready to go, and be very protective and careful that you're not going to get any of the electronics where the panel's at wet. Simple. It's a lot easier than the heater, because vermins don't really like to live in there, and they don't really make nests and stuff in there as much as they do inside a heater. But they do definitely get dirty because they're wide open, and there's a lot more debris and crap that can come in when it's off from the top into the unit, because it's a big vacant space and all that crap needs to be cleaned out.
Gotcha. Do you do that at the same time that you do your heaters? You just put them all on the same track and charge?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
100%.
I have 2 questions for you. So obviously it's a heat pump. It's like an air conditioner. So there's certain things that the pool pros can repair on them. There's certain ones that need, obviously, licenses for refrigerant, right? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. This is a point of fear. I think, John, you used that word, or you guys are scared of these things.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to turn fear into respect. Don't fear it, respect it.
Respect it.
But don't fear it. One of the features that a heat pump has is something called refrigerant. Now, when I first started looking into this sort of thing, I had a hard time getting my head around how we get refrigerant to make heat. That didn't make any sense to me. I have a refrigerator at home, and it keeps my beer cold. How does it heat? I don't understand that. And what I didn't get was that refrigerant can be both very hot and very cold. So it starts out very cold. We're going to make it hot, and then it'll return to being cold again when it goes through the evaporator coils. We have something that's under a great deal of pressure. It's pressurized. It could be in a very cold state, 60, 80 below, depending on the refrigerant, okay? It could be at a very hot state. This stuff is dangerous. It is dangerous to human beings, and it's bad for the environment. So you can't just release this stuff to the air. You have to recapture it if you're going to take it out. When you're bleeding this thing out, you're supposed to recapture it. This is why you have to have a license from the Environmental Protection Agency. That's a federal license. They want to make sure you know how to handle this stuff without hurting anybody, and that you're not just dumping it into the atmosphere. Because the old school guys, oh, we need to dump the refrigerant. Just open up the valve and let her fly. And it's bad for the environment. So the EPA wants to make sure, hey, man, if we catch you releasing this stuff into the air, we're going to fine you. And I'm not talking about $20 here. I'm talking $35,000.
Holy cow.
Okay? Don't hold me to that. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but
it's big.
It's big. It's big, buddy. Now, that's just on the federal level, so you need that licensing. Now, So now a lot of people are under the impression that, oh, I've just got to go sit for my EPA license and everything will be fine. I can go out there and start messing with this stuff. That teaches you the dangers of it, but it doesn't really teach you how to handle it. You still don't know how to handle it, how to work the gauges. That stuff comes with training. And states will have their own licensing for that, okay? And most of them are pretty stringent. Okay, HVAC guys go to school for 2 to 4 years to get all the information that they need, to get the license that they need for how to operate this stuff, how to work it, how to charge and discharge the refrigerant. And so, okay, do we have a lot of those in the swimming pool industry? No. Now, look, moving forward, I fully expect that more and more people that deal with swimming pool equipment will start to look into having an HVAC license. I got to tell you, for those of you that are just getting in the industry, I would look into, if you have to go to night school to get an HVAC license, I'd do it right now. I'd do it right now, because you guys are pool guys that are putting these in. If I were out there putting them in, I might put one in. I can do the plumbing. I can do the electrical. I can set the pad up. I can make sure everything is lined up the way it's supposed to be. I can make sure the plumbing is correct. I can do all that. I can't touch the HVAC portion. I can't touch the refrigerant. If I'm out there right now, I have to do what I did with an electrician. There were certain electrical things I didn't mess with. My licensing in California did not allow me to go to the main panel, the main electrical panel. So I had an electrician. I had a guy. I would call him up. Hey, man, I need you to come out. I need another breaker for this, and then we need to run some wires. And he would come out, and I would tell him, this goes here, that goes there. This is what I need. Bing, bang, boom. He did it, took care of it. I wrote him a check. I sent a bill to the customer. Okay? That's what we're looking at doing with HVAC people. You're going to want to find yourself an HVAC guy who's got it down. He has an understanding because, look, you may find HVAC people to go, what, swimming pool heaters? I don't know anything about that because they don't realize it's all the same stuff. It's all the same stuff. So once those individuals get it in their head that, yeah, I can work on that, you can do the same thing with an HVAC guy. You'll bring in a guy and I'm going to use the word subcontract. I mean, I'm not telling you how to run your business. You do what you do, but you bring in a guy who has the licensing and the knowledge to do what needs to be done on that product. I'll take care of everything else. Dude, don't worry about the plumbing. You come in here and worry about the pressures. There's various pressures for various models, and that's all available. All the manufacturers will give you that information. That's not going to be hard to find. So, yeah, pool folks, you're not going to be able to work on, typically, in most cases, not going to be work on the refrigerant part. I see that as a blessing because, man, I don't know if I want to get in there and start. Fella could put an eye out. Look, you can be badly burned or injured with this stuff, and it's not something you want to play around with. Oh, there's nobody around. My neighbor's got these gauges. I'm just going to hook them up and play with it. Yee. That's dangerous stuff, man. Walking a thin line.
Is there any other parts of it that you need licensing, or is it just really the refrigerant?
Well, I should point out that licensing changes from state to state. We're in Texas right now. And a good friend of mine moved down here from California, and the first thing he had to do to stay in the swimming pool industry was get that appliance installer's license so that he could hook up whatever electrical device. Very ironic that he came from California where they were comparatively lax in terms of licensing. They was like, oh, you've got your C63, you're good. Go ahead. As long as you don't go, you can go back to the sub panel and you can run wires from there and hook up pumps or whatever runs on electricity, no problem. State of Texas requires licensing for that. Many states have licensing just for gas. You can't hook up a gas line without a gas license. So you still have to pay attention to whatever the licensing is in your area. And I'm saying state, there may be, look, I talked to a guy, it was TJ. We had TJ in here last time. He was telling me he was out at the Outer Banks where they want to see you actually video when you are releasing the refrigerant, that you are recapturing refrigerant. That's not a state of North Carolina thing. That was just a local, whatever, I don't know, whether it was this local city or county, whatever it was. So you still have to comply with everything that's happening in the backyard where you're working. I've just been assuming that, look, you're a swimming pool professional, you are licensed to do what you're licensed to do, which is your standard pumps and filters and heaters and like that. Under those circumstances, yeah, you can still hook up that heat pump. You can still take care of everything but the refrigerant.
So I want to jump into that from a pool pro's perspective. We sell the heat pump. Can you walk us through the installation process from that perspective?
It would be very little difference from putting in a regular heater with, of course, the exception that you don't need a gas line. There's no gas. We have to cover the spatial requirements that I talked about earlier. All that has to be taken into consideration. Whatever the state of Florida requires, that device be fastened to a concrete slab. So there's one more thing that has to be taken care of. They even have how big the slab is in relationship to the device that you're putting on it. So all of these things have to be followed. Plumbing is mostly the same. Well, let me back up just a second and say that they are substantially heavier than a swimming pool heater. You might need a bigger dolly. You might need an appliance dolly. I can get the older model Raypak, let's say it's a big old 406, 407. With pneumatic tires on my dolly, I can roll that across the grass with a heater on. It's usually okay as long as it's not too damp. I can do that. Probably not with a heat pump. Your wheels are just going to sink into the dirt, so you may have to lay down some plywood as you wheel it out there. Again, I used to put that stuff in by myself. You're going to need at least a second guy. 2, 3 guys, 4 guys would be helpful and less likely to hurt yourself. So that's a consideration. The plumbing may be slightly different. When we plumb a gas heater, typically we just use primary plumbing. Pipe comes directly out of the filter, goes directly into the heater. Another pipe comes straight out of that heater. So all of the water on the system is running through your heater, even if you're not heating your pool. If you turn your heater off and never heat your pool at all, you've still got every drop of water from the pool running through the heater. You can do that on a heat pump, but heat pumps typically have a tighter flow band. So the minimum flow rate and the maximum flow rate are closer together. 40 to 100 on a standard Raypak heater. It might be 30 to 80 on a heat pump. Okay, all right, because the band is closer together, we got to pay a little bit more attention to that. We have to be able to adjust that. So an external bypass of some sort, if it's me, I'm going to put one on every single time. I'm going to put one on every time because the worst case scenario, you put it on, you spent a little extra money on a flow meter and a ball valve and a couple of feet of pipe and some fittings. If you have to run all the water through the heater, you shut that ball valve, okay, great, but it's there. It's there, and if you have a variable speed pump, and let's face it, almost everybody has a variable speed pump now, it's going to change your flow rates. So you got to set up that flow rate. You got to really pay attention to make sure that you are getting the flow rate within the range necessary for that product that you're installing that day. Okay, wow, I turn on my pump in the morning, and I got it running at 2,800 RPMs. And it's really kicking out some water because I'm trying to stir that pool first thing in the morning, and then I'll turn it way down and let it run low and slow to save electricity. Great, that's a great idea. But man, your flow rate just got so wide that you might come in way above the necessary flow for the heater and then turn around and be way below it. So now we have to dial in the pump to make sure that our flow rates are straight. And then we're going to use that ball valve to give us a little bit more flexibility on the ball valve. Okay, so you got to pay more attention to flow rates on that installation. I think that's probably the key thing to know on installation for these things. You can't just drop the pipes in and, hey, it's Miller time, I'm out of here. No, you got to pay more attention to that stuff. Did I just plug Miller beer? Did I just do that? I apologize. That was not my intention. Let's go to a word from our brand new sponsor, everyone.
I agree 100%. A heat pump is really no different than putting another piece of appliance or putting a heater in. There's a couple different things you got to do, right? First and foremost, the space that it takes is just enormous. So you need to be very understanding of the space that you're working with at that pad. And you touched on it before.
You know what, John? Let me jump in here just real quick, because I just remembered the last thing that I thought you were asking me about, and it was distance, and it's exactly what you're talking about right now. Distance to other products. A gas heater, another heat pump. You may have to put 2 or 3 heat pumps in if it's a big pool. So a gas heater, another heat pump, or an air conditioning unit. You need certain distances. 3 feet typically.
Yep.
Okay? If you've got a gas heater and a heat pump, the heat pump is pulling air, and it pulling air fast. The fan is like this big around. Oh, that's a cool sound. Okay, I'm just going to spend 20 minutes playing with the equipment. Can we just do that? The gas heater needs air too. It needs combustion air. Who's going to win a fight between a device that's got a fan this big and one that's got a fan this big? Yeah. That gas heater is going to lose every time. So now we're sucking combustion air away from that gas heater. We want to keep 3 feet between those two so those two can play nice together. I'm glad we thought of that again, because I knew there was one more thing. So I'm sorry for interrupting you, but I would have forgotten all over again.
I remembered as well, and I was going to bring that up as well. So I'm glad you caught that. I had a question too. When it comes to, for the most part, if you're adding a heater to an existing pad, you already have adding a heat pump. If you already have a heater there, would you recommend them doing the intake prior to the heater? Should the heat pump flow to the heater, or should the heater flow to the heat pump?
Okay, so if you're using multiple sources of heat, you want the most efficient one to be the primary. So you want that one first. Okay, so we're talking about a gas heater, a heat pump, or solar collectors, not photovoltaic collectors. Okay, so I just gave them to you in exactly the wrong order: solar, heat pump, gas heater. Now, typically, it's unusual that you would use 3 of them. It's not impossible, but it's doable. You would typically use 2 of the 3. So we already know that if you're using solar and a gas heater, you go to solar first. You go to the solar, it comes back down, and then you measure the temperature of the water at the heater. And you don't even need automation at that point. The heater is, what was the temperature coming down? It's plenty warm. Now, you may want to manifold that out in such a way so that you're getting a higher temperature, because you're going to get hotter water coming from the solar than is in the pool. But I digress. You want the solar to be the primary, and the gas heater becomes the helper. So if we're talking about a heat pump, The heat pump is first in line. Gas heater is second. That's there to assist the heat pump because we're trying to keep efficiency as high as we can. So we want the heater to do the heavy lifting. Now, if it is unable to keep up, the gas heater is there to help, and it'll help with speed. It'll help you speed up, and so then speed up the heating. And so you can set the heater at, say, 5 to 10 degrees lower than the heat pump so that when the water gets up to a temperature that's closer to what the heat pump can handle, the heater will shut off and let the heat pump take it from there. So how do we plumb that? Heat pump first. What we want to do is we want to take the primary line coming off the system. So in this case, it would be whatever's coming from the filter. You got a pipe coming out of the filter, and it's going down line, and that's where we would typically put our heater. So at this point, instead of going into the heater and then out of the heater, I would leave that line straight through and put a leg coming from and to. So you got 2 lines coming off that main line, one feeding the heat pump, one coming from the heat pump. And then about 3 or 4 feet down, you're going to do the same thing with the gas heater. Now you can adjust the valves to get the flows necessary to make sure you have your flow rates correctly. You put a balancing valve between the intake and the outgo and throttle those as necessary to push the right amount of water through it. Because in that configuration, as the water's flowing past, if you don't put a valve or something there to push water into your heaters, you will get no flow at all because water follows the path of least resistance. It'll just keep blowing through that pipe. So you need a ball valve in between the incoming and the outgoing to force water into the heater. And you'll put a flow meter at the inlet so that you know that you're accomplishing the flow that you need. All right, so whatever is being bypassed, whatever's still going through the main line, it will rejoin once that water comes back in. So it'll leave the heat pump and it'll go down and do the same thing at the gas heater, same incoming and outgoing pipe, same throttling valve or balancing valve that's called, just to drive some water through the devices. Now, with that 3 to 4 feet down the line or more, the water that comes out of that heat pump is mixing with the water so that you get a more reasonable temperature. You're adding heat to the water, okay? What you never, ever want to do, and not just on a heat pump, but on any time you have multiple devices of that nature and multiple heaters, you don't want to come water directly into the heater, water out of the heater directly into the next heating device. Never do that. 2 gas heaters, 2, whatever you like, whatever brand of heater you use, 2 of them, they're identical. You put them right next to one another. You got water going into the heater. Am I keeping you awake? You all right? You okay? Can I get you? I got some really bad coffee here. You're interested?
Appreciate that.
You know, if the water's coming out of one heater and going directly into another heater, the second heater will never get a call for heat because you already heated it. It's already coming out hot. And when it hits the temp sensor for the second heater, the heater's just going to go, oh, well, water's already hot. There's no point turning on. So you have to manifold that stuff out. You have to have that water going back into a main line and then coming off that line. Okay?
No, perfect. And that's why I wanted to touch on that. I think it's very important, especially if you're installing it for the first time or you've never had a dual heating system. The other thing I wanted to really touch on, and I think is very important, is the electrical's a little different, right? Not necessarily you're dealing with 240 when you're hooking it up, but the amperage is something that most pool professionals haven't dealt with before. When you're talking about the average heat pump, I think takes between 50 and 60 amps. And most panels don't have that or can't accommodate that, or you don't have the proper wiring. One thing I want to say, you can't just hook up 12 gauge wire to a heat pump with the 60 amp circuit, right? Nope. And expect things not to get pretty nasty and crazy. A lot of times you're going to need to run a sub panel, a breakaway. You're going to need to have that thicker gauge according to, obviously read the manual and figure out what amperage, because I know you guys also have some smaller ones like the crosswinds, right? That don't take nearly as much amperage as some of the bigger ones. But for the most part, if you're going to be heating up a swimming pool, you're going to have one of the larger units and you're going to be looking to install a 60 amp breaker. And that 60 amp breaker, you cannot hook up 10 gauge or you can't hook up 12 gauge wire to it. You're going to need to step to, a lot of times we put in 6 gauge or 8 gauge wire for the heat pump when we hook it up. And that is something that you guys are going to have to take into consideration when doing it.
100%. And this is where the public at large really needs to get some education on, fossil fuels are bad. We're going to use electricity. It's so much better. But all right, whatever you say, you ain't plugging in a toaster, man. These things pull some juice.
Yeah, don't plug it into an intermatic timer.
No, let's pop it on my old T104 hanging on the wall. We'll just hook it up to that. Good to go.
Exactly. Okay.
No, man,
Cool.
these things pull it. Look, some of the smaller models might only be 25 amps or whatever, but the bigger ones are going to get up into the 60s, into the 50 to 60. Breaker size needs to be accommodated, and wire size by length. Now, what you'll find is most manuals will have this information for you laid out by footage. How many feet of wire are you running here? Okay, so the longer the wire is, the longer the run is, the fatter that wire has to be. And what you'll see is when you get over to, if you're just, I'm going to replace this gas heater, and this gas heater's been running on the same 240 circuit as my pump, I've got wires, I'll be fine. No, you will not, because, those 12, 14 gauge wires just ain't going to do the trick. You're pulling way too much juice off the system, and you need to accommodate that with the wiring. Otherwise, when we use the wrong size wiring, you're trying to push too much power through too small of a wire, you get resistance heat on the wires themselves.
Smoke show.
Yeah, smoke show. Good word. Resistance heat on the wires themselves, so your wires become heating elements. Does that sound dangerous? Because it is.
What you're saying, no, I'm just going to be a smart ass. I'm not going to.
Really? Why stop
so
now?
I can't take the wires from the heater and just kind of reuse them.
No, folks.
Right.
This is one of the things. This is one of the upfront costs is, and this is the other thing is, I recommend bringing in an electrician. Bring in an electrician that can go, look, frankly, I would bring them in at the bidding level. There's not going to be any surprises. I put in this bid, and here it is. Hey, great, they took the bid. And you bring your electrician out, and he goes, I don't know what you were thinking, man. It's going to cost twice that just to do the electrical. I would bring that into the equation.
Absolutely. Hey, let's do one thing. Let's take our final word from our sponsors. We're going to do something a little bit different today. So normally we do our final words right after the commercial break, but there's a couple things that we want to talk about before I get John and Zach's final thoughts. So let's take a word from our sponsors. We'll be right back. Mr. Brad Duncan.
Yes, that's right. That's Brad Duncan.
We'll be right back.
Where'd that come from? What are you doing?
The Hyper Pole from Ultimate Pool Tools is a pool care pole designed by pool professionals for pool professionals, featuring precision-crafted carbon fiber and stainless steel construction. Go to ultimatepooltools.com or Instagram at Ultimate Pool Tools. Pool pros have specific needs when it comes to general liability insurance. The SPPA program has you covered. With 3 tailored and customizable general liability options, SPPA makes it easy for pool pros to feel secure. Find out more and get covered at thesppa.com. Now available, Pool Invoice. Pool Invoice is a pool billing software created specifically for the pool service and repair industry. It's developed for our industry and only our industry. Pool Invoice is built with recurring billing in mind. You can print, email, text invoices, or even send via WhatsApp. You can add recurring or yearly charges, accept credits, and set up autopay. You can even see when customers have seen the invoice. It even has a customer portal where they can log in and see, print, and pay invoices. It has all your customers' information on one page, so you don't need to search through hundreds of invoices looking for the one you need. Just go to the customer profile and it's all at your fingertips. Created specifically for the pool industry, Pool Invoice. Now available at poolinvoice.com. Blu-ray XL is the power of minerals working for you. Reduce your overall chemical costs and labor up to 50% guaranteed. Whether you have 20 accounts or 20,000, Blu-ray XL's direct pricing and free shipping to the pool trade have you covered. Improving pool professionals' profit and work-life balance is what they do. Blu-ray XL, the real mineral purifier. Visit them at BluRayXL.com.
Blu-ray all day.
Aquastar's new pipeline cartridge filters, available in 2 sizes, deliver top-notch hydraulic efficiency along with best-in-class filtration performance, approaching that of DE filters. Uniquely designed, open pleat spacing means 100% of the media square footage is usable. And these claims are backed by NSF test results. Designed with the pro's time and comfort in mind, the patented double-locking system improves safety and ease of access, making filter cleaners faster than ever before. Available now. Ask your supplier for pipeline filters today.
Natural Chemistry, a leader in specialty water care solutions for over 30 years, is proud to provide products that make pool service easier than ever before. Its unique enzyme formulations in Pro Series Pro Blend improve efficiency of your pool program while reducing frequency of filter cleaning and scum lines. Natural Chemistry is also well known for its wide variety of phosphate removal solutions that include a non-clouding formula in Phos-Free and extremely high-range removal with Pro Series Phos Remove or Phos-Free Max. Save time, save money, save work with Pro Series products. Stop sacrificing durability or efficiency with the help of Raypak's new Avia HD models that utilize NITEC, their exclusive industry-first technology. NITEC heat exchanger technology is Raypak's latest solution to superior strength and maximum efficiency when it comes to residential pool heating. With 900% more nickel compared to copper nickel in critical surfaces, NITEC creates an ideal surface to protect against scale formation and erosion without compromising on Avia's 84% thermal efficiency. Learn more at raypak.com/NITEC. The next evolution in lighting is here. Universal Color Logic 2.0 from Hayward. The latest in pool and spa lighting was designed with you in mind, making installation a breeze. Upgrades include a detachable cord and first-of-a-kind adjustable lower catch to overcome variations in plaster thickness. As always, Universal Color Logic lights retrofit into virtually any in-ground pool or spa while delivering industry-leading, vibrant color. Visit Hayward.com to discover more.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Pool Nation Live podcast with our friend Brad Duncan.
Oh, just stop. Just quit it.
And Akshaya. We want to welcome you guys back over here. So normally we do final thoughts. You know what? Let me come back over here. And so we did have a question on here with regards to, and I guess I should backtrack a little bit. So Ethan was asking if there was an HVAC license that didn't involve having to work for an HVAC contractor for 4 years. And then Kelly, which huge shout out to you. I know she is with Florida. She's with Horner Express. So I reached out to her and asked, and her response was, in Florida, you need to be licensed for refrigerant recovery. You must be at least 18 years old. You must have a high school diploma or a GED. You must complete a training program, usually a vocational school or college. You must gain verified experience in the HVAC industry, and you must pass the EPA-approved test and earn the Section 608 of the technician certification. Ethan, I hope that answers that a little bit. If not, just shoot me a message, and then I'll be more than glad to connect you with them, and they might be able to get you any questions that you have on there. Anyways, big shout out to everybody that was listening. We obviously geeked out a little bit on a lot of the heat pump, the install, that kind of stuff. So we neglected some of our peeps over here. Jeanette was on there, so big shout out to Jeanette, Ethan, Eric was on there, Michael, Kelly, big shout out to everybody out there. And there's a couple of things that we wanted to talk about really quick before we get final thoughts, which I think was very exciting, which John was talking about, and that was the email that you got. Do you want to talk about it, John, or should we just throw it back to them?
No, we're going to give the floor to them. I think I've talked enough. Yeah.
So there's a little email floating around about exciting news about the Avia here. So why don't you guys talk about that?
Yes, actually recently we partnered up, you guys probably saw it in Pool Pro magazine, but we partnered up with Poolside Tech, and it is called the Brains and Brawn package. And we're pretty excited about it because we are combining the pool heaters combined with the controls to bring the pros the best-in-class pool package. So it's everything you guys are going to see. We're going to come out a little bit more with the details on it, but installation and energy savings, there's seamless control and integration, automation, and then diagnostics. So we're very excited about that. And then also we've been in collaboration with Aquastar too. So with the Pool Nation Conference, PSP, and then we have the Heritage, so many events upcoming, and we're excited to divulge more about that, but stay tuned.
That's awesome. And then can we talk a little bit about the Avia? What you guys are doing there, what you just dropped?
Yeah. Avia's got a 3-year warranty now. And that's not a pad thing where you buy 3 things and you get a bigger warranty. That's a standalone warranty. We're going to warranty Avia for 3 years now. As a matter of fact, what we've determined is they've been out for a while now, and we're thinking, okay, we don't see any reason why we can't warranty these things for 3 years, and so we're going to do it. As a matter of fact, we're making it retroactive. Provided that your heater is still within 3 years of installation, will honor that 3-year warranty on a previously installed unit. That's brand new, just dropped, and that's pretty exciting.
No, that is exciting. Warranty claims, right, or the dependability of a product and how much money you have to put into it after the sale, right? It plays a big factor in any manufacturer, right? And it's a testament to Raypak and you guys building a quality piece of equipment saying, hey, look, we're going to sit there and we're going to warranty this for 3 years. And not only are we going to warranty it for 3 years moving forward, but we're going back and retroactively saying, hey, all you folks that put this in, we're not leaving you out. We believe in our product. We're standing by it, that we're going to warranty it full parts and full labor for 3 years. And then I think there's even something else that I thought was pretty badass, where if I read it correctly, was that not only are you giving a 3-year warranty, but now you're even warranting residential heaters in a commercial environment for the first year for 1 year. So you're saying that these heaters are so good that you can put it in a commercial environment and you can run it in a commercial environment, even though it's a residential heater, and we will still warranty it for 1 year, or usually any other manufacturer would say, hey, this is not what this heater's application was built for. It voids the warranty, where you guys are going back and saying, hey, we're also going to be giving you a year warranty in that case as well, which I think is pretty impressive.
In most cases, you probably wouldn't have put the residential model in, but we don't know what's going on out there. You bought the heater, you put it where you heat it. And obviously, yes, it was made for a residential model. Doesn't mean it's not still a durable product. And all right, fine, because we'll still give you a year.
And that's on parts and labor warranty as well.
Parts and labor.
Yeah, so that's very impressive.
I do have a question. How long has the Via heater been out?
I recall it coming out in 2020 because I remember we were all geared up for this big product drop. Man, if we would gear, we got this new thing, we're going to drop it. And COVID hit. And it was, man, it really took the wind out of our sails, made things a little bit more difficult. But that's how I remember it. Were you with us in 2020?
Yes, actually, I think that's just when I joined in.
Is that the way you remember that?
Yes, yeah.
So, yeah, we've been out, we're into the 4th year now.
I want you to think about this for a second, because I know that you guys obviously share it, but when you guys mentioned it, my brain started thinking. First question was, when was it out? So that means, John, that they've been able to, as a company, look at the data over the last 3 or 4 years. And so if you have products that you sell and stuff like that, you're going to see the warranty claims that you get. And that's really going to be able to dictate, obviously, what your warranty is. So that tells you that data is telling them that is a badass heater, that they can firmly say you have a freaking 3-year warranty on this heater. So that means that those heaters that you guys are putting out there, you're not getting a lot of warranty calls on them, because you're able to put your foot down and say, we're going 3 years.
I can tell you this, I put in a lot of heaters in the past years, and we've put in many Avia heaters, and I have yet to have to go back to one of them to do any type of work on any of them.
I've talked about it before. I did a lot of vacation rentals, and every time I had to replace something, I put a Raypak in. At the beginning, I used to love repairing heaters because I made all this money. I started to hate getting phone calls on Saturday and Sunday to go repair heaters. And it was like, at that point, it wasn't worth it anymore. And every time something went out, it was like, you either get a Raypak heater or nothing, because I'm not. So they're definitely very durable. So congratulations on that. I think that's amazing.
And the bigger thing is the longevity aspect of it, right? Durability is the one thing which is amazing with the brains and brawn. That's why we say we're the brawn side of it, right? We're the little fist pump, the bicep. But I think it's also really the longevity of our products.
Sorry, Zach, what was that?
No, I was just going to add too, from a business perspective, when we're looking at comparable costs to a customer, like it's one more tool that we have. You've got an iTech exchanger, and now you've got a 3-year warranty, and it unlevels the playing field when you're choosing which one to go with when selling a customer, if that makes sense.
And that also, Zach, made me think, you're a brand new pool guy, right? We're always thinking about the brand new pool guy. You're going out there to sell a heater. That's a huge selling point to a customer, right? So that's something that you use from that sales pitch to be able to convince that customer for that.
Well, let's take it even a little bit further. And you're an extension of whatever you put in. And I don't care if I'm putting in a Pentair, a Raypak, a Jandy, or whatever. If that thing breaks down, right, or something goes wrong with it, it's not Raypak that built a crappy heater or Pentair that built a crappy heater. It's John and his company that
sold me a crappy heater,
right? Or did something wrong or whatever it may be. And it's comforting to know. And when we make our recommendations and what products we choose to offer, because we make a decision, we always do good, better, best, and we give our customer an option to pick. And we explain the pros, cons, benefits. We try to tie it into their lifestyle, what they're looking for, so that it helps them make that decision. Instead of being sold on it, they say, hey, look, this is exactly what you were looking for and you're asking for. But we get to choose which brands that we showcase or that we show. And I'd be a liar if I said, hey, chose not to offer something because I knew that was a piece of crap and it was going to break down, or I've had a lot of issues with this certain product and whatever it may be. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to go back in a year or 6 months or 2 months or whatever it may be and have to deal with this in the inconvenience it's going to cost my company and the customer's perception of us. Having a product that is bulletproof or is close to bulletproof in the industry, so far for us, it makes it an easy choice when it comes down to what heater we decide to offer and install on the pad. So kudos to you guys. I think it's awesome. And instead of just saying, hey, look, because you could have just as easily said 1 year is what the industry standard is or whatever, and live with it, and be okay with it. And nobody's going to judge you on it, right? Because that's what everybody else is doing. You're saying, hey, look, we're going to warranty it for an additional 2 more years, knowing you are going to incur some extra costs because there will be something that's going to go bad. And now you're going to have to warranty or do something where you wouldn't have had to. But it just goes to show in the character of the company and you guys standing behind your product and being there for the pool pros. It's a lot easier conversation to have with the client. Say, hey, look, I know your heater's 18 months old, right? It's going to cost you $1,300 to repair it. Going back and saying, hey, look, yeah, we got your back. We got you. We put this Raypak in that, yeah, it's 18 months old or 24 months old. It's going to cost you nothing to repair it because it's covered under warranty. It's a much easier pill to swallow for your client. They're going to be more than happy. Okay, it's down, but hey, I don't have to pay anything to get it fixed. It's going to get fixed. And then you look like the hero. It's a win for everybody. And it's a no-brainer.
Absolutely. Love it. Is there anything else that we're forgetting? Got a lot of training. So Raypak, I mean, we talked about it yesterday. You guys are full force for next year. I'm like, hey, what are you guys doing? And you're like, we're doing every single show.
But honestly,
we're doing every single training.
It's frightening.
If anyone has the chance to see Brad in action, though, at one of these boot camps or one of these trainings, truly, he's very entertaining. So I'm just like,
get out there.
If you have get out there. Yeah.
Yep. Hey, Zach and John, believe it or not, we've literally have 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So Zach, go quick. Final thoughts.
Yeah, I'll be quick. I just want to say thanks for coming on. I know last time we were in studio together, we touched on heat pumps a little bit, but going through this today, I learned a lot more. And we've been installing heat pumps for a while now, but I was guilty in the beginning of falling into that, that this thing is crazy. I want to stay away from it. I don't know if it's very effective for many years. And as we started doing them and seeing a demand for them, and we just got a little bit of confidence in it, it became much easier for us to sell. And it's like, I don't know how long I was doing our customers, like you said, Brad, kind of a disservice because I'm like, nah, you don't want that, when maybe that was the right choice for them. So today was very good for me. It just furthered a lot of things. I've learned a lot of new things. So thank you for coming on and sharing with us today.
Absolutely. I love coming here. It's always a good time, and we always get into a lot of deep conversation. I enjoy it.
Mr. JJ Flawless.
No, I want to echo what Zach was saying. Thank you guys. Really appreciate you taking the time to come out here. I think today's podcast was very informative. I also appreciated that we touched on the touchy subjects that a lot of times people want to avoid. Let's just talk about all the great things and not really talk about some of the important things that you have to keep in mind when you're out there putting in these products, because it is a little bit different, right? When we talked about the licensing, when we talked about dealing with the refrigerant, when we're talking about the difference in electricity and understanding it and knowing it, and then also being very upfront and honest about the drawbacks that a heat pump can have when certain situations, environmental situations, or when physical things are affecting it. But at the end of the day, I hope anybody that listened to this, you have many more questions, feel free to reach out to us or reach out to the team at Raypak, and we'll be more than happy to guide you and put you in the right direction with no fluff and no BS so that you're prepared. Because I said it earlier at the very beginning, and I mean it, this is something that we need to be very aware of, right? And we can't forget about it and wait for it to catch up to us, because you're going to be way behind the ball when it happens. This is something you need to get in front of now and start educating yourself, getting prepared, understanding the product, and knowing what it can do for you and do for your clients, so that you can put it into play and start profiting off of it, and then offering solutions for your people. Because there's a change in times, and it is happening. Whether you want to believe it or not, it is happening. And the more you know about it, the better prepared you are going to be when that change finally slaps you in the face. Thanks again, guys. Wish I was there. Look forward to seeing you guys at the expo or at our next event.
Now we're headed off to do your favorite thing.
You're going to go eat.
Yeah, baby. We're going to go eat.
I'm hungry, Mom.
Hey, I do want to, my final thoughts really quick. I do want to take a second to thank all the amazing women that came out to the Women's Summit. It was absolutely amazing. I just got messages, believe it or not, with people going, can you put me on a waiting list for 2025? Just as I was on the podcast. So amazing. I do want to give a personal thanks to Stacy Gearhart, which is your guys' boss. She is absolutely amazing. I'm going to get in trouble for this because I know somebody's listening that doesn't allow me to say bad words, but she is a badass woman in the industry. Stacy, thank you for everything that you do for the industry, for your company. I know that you're an amazing leader. I always try to take key things and key takeaways from people that inspire me. And two of them from her is one, live in the present, live in the moment, right? And then number two is obviously being really, truly authentic to yourself. So, Stacy, thank you so much. I do have to give her a phone call because I am going to ask her what we talked about, but I don't want to throw her out into the bus in here in front of everybody. But I will be giving you a call. Anyway, Stacy, thank you so much. You're absolutely amazing. Everybody that's out there, tune in next Wednesday, Instagram Live. Nominations for the Pool Nation Awards. They will be held at Heritage Pool Supplies. Zach will be driving up. We will go live right at 8 o'clock with our friend from the studio, and we're looking forward to it. Everybody, have a great weekend. John, Zach, we'll catch you on the other side. Bye, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening to the Pool Nation podcast, a member of the Pool Nation family. You can listen to us live every Friday here at 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Central, and 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. You can find us at Pool Nation or poolnationpodcast.com, on Facebook, or on Instagram at pool.nation. And to find more info about Pool Invoice, the billing software built specifically for the pool industry, go to poolinvoice.com. Before you go, this is what the pool industry has been waiting for. PoolmanUniversity.com. It's the first platform dedicated to learning the swimming pool service and repair industry. A pool service community where you can connect and find videos on business, service, water chemistry, and repairs. See you there at PoolmanUniversity.com.